Herb. Herb is a plant. I mean, herbs are good for everything. Herb.
Welcome to Eugene Cannabis TV, and here we are in episode 674. I'll get it right sooner or later. And you got DanK here, and my friend Peke, come on from Portland, or Salem again. And Peke will be here. We're talking about the Global Marijuana March. It's coming up May 5th. Yeah, May 5th, Saturday, first day of May. I always look forward to being May on May 1st, you know, because then we can say May Days, or May Days, May Day. Now I can't even talk. May Day is J Day. There you go. So, but then unfortunately that won't be. And gosh, I looked it up and now I forgot what it was. 2025, I think it is, or something like that, before we can get it on Saturday again. But anyway, I'm talking about the 1st of May. So the 5th of May this year, the Global Marijuana March. It's happening in Portland and in Salem. Won't be in Eugene, but
on the north end of the Capitol Mall, Center and Summer Street. Summer Street is a southbound road from Portland, or from I-5.
Okay. Oh yeah, excellent. Yeah, it's good to know. So it's on the north side, and the motorcycle group, Abate. I've forgotten about this, but Abate is there every year. The motorcycle group that's for motorcycle rights, and anyway, and they're a great partner to have in the area, I think. So anyway, we don't do that in Eugene anymore. I ran that for the last quite a few marches that we had. I ran it, but wasn't getting the help I needed, and the turnout wasn't anything to write home about either. So I just said, heck with it, you know. They wanted me to come up to Portland. Every year they invite me to come to Portland, but I said, hey, the guys in Salem are doing theirs, and so I'm just going to Salem. It's closer, and I need to support them, so I want to be there. So we're looking forward to it.
And we're at the Capitol, and we do take a walk around with our signs.
So if you know anybody in Salem, or if you want to make the trip, let us know, because we'd love to have you there. One of the special thanks to our friend Mark that's been on the show. He's getting ready to move to Thailand. So, but we appreciate his contributions to the show, and we'll hope to hear from him from time to time. And so I just wanted to give that shout out. And don't forget that you can't spell healthcare without THC.
Very true.
And that's something that we need to keep talking about. As another thing, and about voting. Vote. People that are eligible to vote need to vote. And in Oregon, felons can vote. It's misunderstood. A lot of people don't realize that's the case. But in Oregon, felons can vote. There's even a law that specifically says they can vote.
So don't be afraid. Write to your representative. Either make an appointment and see your representative personally. I've done that last year. A few years back, when they started messing with the OMMP, the medical cannabis program, and raising the fees, I talked to my friend who was a lawyer, Bradley Shipman, and we wrote out a testimonial. I still use that when I go to hearings. And we found, and like we always knew, that the government's been lying to us. They're violating Section 20 in the state constitution, which states that everybody should be treated equally. The cannabis patients aren't being treated equally. They lost their growers because of stipulations that were too hard for a lot of the growers who were giving the cannabis away.
Yeah, and that's devastated the program. Madeline Martinez, the national board member of NORML, lives in Portland, had the Cannabis Cafe for many years, which was not patient accessible, by the way. A lot of people don't know that, but that's a fact. But anyway, she said many years ago, I remember her saying this, I want legalization, but not on the backs of patients. And so when I saw her last summer at the hearing in Salem where she was testifying on the lounge bill, I asked her about that. I said, well, what do you have to say now that we're there? And she said, well, it's the growers' fault. They're greedy. That's the growers' fault.
No, it's the little people in the government that are greedy, and they just see this money, and they're not, well, they're supposedly going to be helping the school system out.
Exactly. And the Oregon Cannabis Association is probably the biggest, at least well-known business groups for cannabis. We went to the first meeting up in Portland, and nice event, well done. And they went through the whole thing talking about how they had this organization, that it was going to be so great and everything, but they never bothered to mention how much it was going to cost until the end, when finally I asked them, what's it going to cost? And, oh, well, $500 a year. So, yeah. So obviously it wasn't for, you know, you and me and patients, you know, it's for the people with the deep pockets. So that's the way they've always been. So anyway, here we are in March of 2018. So I thought, you know, I'm going to write them a letter. I don't expect them to answer, but just write a letter and try to start a line of communications. So this is what I wrote to them on May 7th, which was, 5 days ago. I was wondering what let's see, this is to Amy, I've forgotten her last name. Anyway, the lady in charge of the Oregon Cannabis Association. I was wondering what the OCA is doing to help alleviate the patient grower shortage. Seeing as how the patients continue to get screwed by OMMP and legalization happened on the backs of patients, I don't understand why this is still happening. I do know it is due in large part to the cannabis's deep pockets and ability to steer the Oregon legislature by the nose. Dan Kuzer, OMMP patient, ectv, executive producer. So I asked, and I probably should have worded it differently. Maybe it wasn't diplomatic enough, but the point is, the questions are being asked, and they're not answered. That's nothing new, because in my activism, that's something I come up across. I ask questions that seem to be too hard because I don't get answers.
Well, when I gave my testimonial to the governor of the state, Kate Brown, it took her at least 3 to 6 months before she replied to me, and it was just a general letter.
And then it was kind of like a CAM letter, just an obligation kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Thanks for writing, and keep in touch, and we'd like to hear from you.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, it's and we just keep pushing. Here's something I came across too that was interesting. I thought of you when I read this. Marijuana chewing gums to relieve fibromyalgia. Fibromyalgia, pain. The legalization of marijuana in many states has opened numerous perspectives and has resulted in many ingenious ideas for its use, expanding the range of medical marijuana products. This was on healthlifebox.com, dated November 12th last year. The evidence that cannabis is an effective method to treat painful and chronic conditions is undeniable. Additionally, it is more effective than leading traditional painkillers and can also reduce seizures in severe epilepsy conditions. Yet the revolutionary product by MedChewRx is one of its kind and represents a cannabis chewing gum which treats chronic pain, especially fibromyalgia. It contains both CBD and THC, delivering about 5 milligrams of each. CBD is a non-psychoactive ingredient, so it numbs pain by blocking the pain receptors in the body in order to prevent their signals to the brain, but it won't make you high. This gum provides faster effects than smoking as it bypasses the liver. As soon as CBD reacts with the saliva, it quickly reaches the bloodstream and does not get processed by any other internal organ. These are some of the benefits of chewing for pain sufferers. It relieves stress, stimulates the cardiovascular system, has neoprotective and stimulatory effects on the brain, improves age-related cognitive decline. Furthermore, chewing marijuana gum is more socially accepted than smoking, so sufferers can relieve their pain anywhere at any time. Axiom Biotechnologies, the company that developed this product, is currently testing its effects, but maintains that it will be available to purchase next year. This chewy gum is believed to be a faster pain relief method in the case of painful conditions, especially fibromyalgia. I still can't. And treat the symptoms as soon as they appear. So, anyway, that's exciting. And I thought, gum, that's a great idea. You know?
Yeah. Well, it's like my healing oil.
Exactly.
It can be used in many different ways, and only when you activate the THC molecule by heating and cooking that you would get the melodic effect.
Yeah, and yeah, I was going to ask you now. I know you make tinctures, or what do you call that?
It's Peke's healing oil. I have two different batches. One is over 15 years old. I started back in Independence, and I add New Harvest when I have it. I add olive oil to it. I add garlic. I added other spices to enhance the olive oil. It takes 28 days when you first start it up, stirring it every day, but you have it in a 5-gallon bucket and you keep it in a cool, dark spot. And I have carpal tunnel that I use it on my wrist, on my shoulder. I've put it all over my body, in my hair, on my beard. You know, headaches, you would put it in over your sinuses and behind your ear to relieve the pain, as well as here. It's a very good oil.
Yeah, that's great.
And the second one is a CBD oil.
Okay, yeah. And you've been making this for many years now.
15 years or over on the original batch.
Yeah.
And
it's right. And so, these things can be done at home, but it's helpful to meet with people that can help you, and such as Peke out of the Mercy Centers up in Salem, and there's people in Eugene too that you can get in touch with. But there's some great people out there that are doing their own thing and helping people. That's their whole thing, is helping people, just like Peke.
If you have time, remember Friday nights, 7 o'clock to 7:30, we have a live phone-in show. The phone number is 503-588-6444. Call us and tell us how cannabis helped or your bad feelings of cannabis. But register and vote.
That's right. And I'll be on the show this coming Friday at MercyTV, so there'll be something to watch, or at least I hope there'll be something to watch. So we're going to come back with a second half, so stay tuned, because we're sure.
Are you tired of following all the rules? Ready to let loose? Have a little fun? Sounds like you need to. Get high. And with Narcomex Incorporated, your direct-to-consumer drug trafficking solution, you can. Narcomex values your business. That's why we're your #1 supplier of drugs, and you're our #1 consumer. These billions can't be wrong. We work hard for your business and have killed not 1, not 2, but 3 Mexican police and 2 journalists just to keep you high with that very joint. Why, our commitment to keeping you supplied has killed over 17,000 people right next door. Traffickers, soldiers, journalists, prosecutors, you name it. We're that passionate about your business. We've even begun to destroy some of your favorite tropical beach destinations, because if you smoke enough at home, You don't even need a beach. But don't legalize it or grow it at home. Let us do the work for you. Sure, consumers boycotted evil companies, but there's no need to boycott Narcomex Incorporated, your direct-to-consumer drug trafficking solution, also offering heroin, meth, and cocaine. Narcomex Incorporated. Live a little, and forget others won't.
Welcome back to the second episode, and 674. You got DanK here, and we got Peke from Mercy Centers with us. And the big news today is that I got to speak to our friend Danbo, not DanK. DanK spoke to Danbo. Daniel Ernst, good friend of ours. I've known him for many, many years. A real hero to me. He's probably one of the biggest men I've ever met. He just got early release out of prison, and I don't know quite found out why yet, but it's good news for sure. And he was facing 15 years on pot charges, and they offered him a plea deal. Now he was looking at 30 years. If he went for it and lost, he was looking at 30 years. So they offered him a plea bargain of 15. And it was talk about an offer he couldn't refuse, because he offered him 15, but they offered to drop all the cannabis charges, but keep the weapons charges, and that's actually what they sentenced him on. So there's an organization called POW 420 doing incredible work, bringing a lot of attention, to our friends that are in prison and over things of this nature. But it really bothered me, because what she's saying here is inaccurate, and I'm a big believer on accuracy. And this is what she wrote: Daniel Ernst is sadly serving and a mandatory minimum sentence of 15 years for cannabis. See, that first sentence is incorrect. I mean, he got there because of cannabis originally, but that's not what he got sentenced on, so that's not accurate.
Weapons.
Yes, it was weapon charges. He was charged with unlawful manufacture or possession with intent to deliver marijuana in violation. He was subject to the sentencing enhancement provision and a mandatory minimum sentence for 15 years. Daniel fought to dismiss all counts charged against him in the 3-count supercoding indictment of July 20th, 2011. Mr. Ernst also fought to suppress certain statements and evidence obtained in 2006 and 2010, and fruits of unconstitutional searches. On February 10, 2012, the court held oral agreement and received testimony from one witness regarding defendant's motion to suppress. Defendant's motions were denied. The U.S. claimed that on January 12, 2010, that Daniel's son was arrested in Illinois for the illegal transportation of approximately 60 pounds of marijuana and 5 pounds of hashish. During the investigation of that crime, federal agents obtained a search warrant authorizing the search of Daniel's property. In August 2010, federal agents executed the search warrant claiming to have seized marijuana plants and dried marijuana. Agents seized approximately 89 marijuana plants, over 10 kilograms of processed and deliverable ready marijuana, including dried marijuana in plastic bags, a marijuana drying stall, digital scales, and other medical paraphernalia. Police shared Daniel's story. So anyway, they do some great work, but they didn't get the facts straight. But anyway, he was serving a 15-year sentence on weapon charges and rescheduled, and he's now out on work release. So at some point in the fairly near future, I expect him to see him on the show. And like I said, been a friend of mine for years, and he's the one that came up with the idea of the bag, you know. He said, I was running camera for the ectv at those days, and he said, you need to come on camera. And I said, I'd like to, but my wife does daycare, and she's concerned that my activism would come back on her. And he said, well, wear a bag over your head. And so we laughed about it, and I got to thinking about it later and thought, well, you know, that's a great idea. So because I could keep my anonymity, plus I could use the fact that here we are living in the land of the free, and I got to wear a bag over my head to talk about a plant. So what's wrong with this story? Picture, you know. Yeah. So anyway, so that'd be great to see him back, and it's so. I mean, you talk about it, the last person in the world who's ever been in jail. Danbo's the most peace-loving guy you ever want to meet. And anyway, he's a hero, the bravest man I ever met in my life. So we're looking forward to seeing him again. I have a statement that he wrote back in 2004 that I'll read on another show to have a little more time. But I also wanted to talk about the OPP. You ever heard of the OPP, the Oregonians for Personal Privacy?
Nope.
This was an initiative, one of the many that I worked on over the years, in the last 20 years. And this is one of many that I worked on that my peers in the movement ignored, pretend like they didn't even exist. And here we are in 2018, and we did this initiative more than ever, and they're still ignoring it. So, regardless of that, I thought, you know, I haven't talked about it much on the show, so I need to bring this up and point it out. This was written by a person that I know by the name of Steve Stadelko. And it was hard to pronounce or even spell his name, so he went by Steve Principle. And some people know him by that name. He worked with Condi at the Hemp Fest that last year, volunteering. Anyway, so he came up with the OPP, and the thing about a constitutional, the problem we're having is that we work on initiatives, and then we get the signatures and get it on the ballot, and then they pass, and then the Oregon legislature jumps in there and then makes changes to it. Well, that's what happened in Measure 91, and that's why we're in the mess that we are right now. They ignored the will of the people pretty much, especially in the fact that they were supposed to not affect the Oregon medical marijuana program. So anyway, the only way to get around that is to write initiatives and pass initiatives, or referendums, they're usually called, that are constitutional amendments. Now, the reason that we want to do that is because the legislature can't mess with it. So that's why it's imperative. The downside is it takes a lot more votes to get it passed, and therefore it's going to cost even more money, a lot more money. So that's why it'll probably never happen, to be truthful. But anyway, that's what we need to do. And here we go. And the thing of it is, it's written so simply that it can't be challenged, and that's the beauty of it. You know, most initiatives and referendums are pages and pages and pages. Well, this one here is 2 paragraphs, and the second paragraph is 1 sentence. Well, actually, there are 2 paragraphs, and they're both a sentence long. So anyway.
Please read this to us.
The people reserve to all persons 21 years of age and older the personal privacy right to the private consumption, possession, and cultivation of the plant cannabis and all of its family and byproducts. Except as otherwise specifically permitted by law, this right does not include the transfer of cannabis for consideration. That was paragraph 1. And number 2, this amendment is effective upon passage. So, boom, there it is. Now, our detractors will say, oh, no, it's an issue. You can't be changing the Constitution every time you want some law. Well, no, we're not doing it every time, but we need to do this time because the legislature has proven that they don't have the guts or desire to do what's right.
Well, the OMMP, the OMA, should be put back the way it was originally laid
Oh, exactly.
out,
Well, yeah, exactly. But
where it was helping the patients
Right.
and
yeah,
the quality of life of people.
right. Well, but it needs to be a constitutional amendment, and the OPP idea has been ignored, like I said, by our movement leaders ever since the inception. And why? Because it would be very expensive, and there's no money in it. See, that was the problem with medical. Well, let me back up. That's the problem with legalization. There was no money in it. People couldn't see the money in it, you know. So finally we got medical. Well, then people started making money in medical. So that's what opened up the gates, and people started saying, whoa, hey, there's some money to be made on this deal. So
Well, it took a few years to get safe access for the patients
Exactly.
to get
yes,
medicine if they didn't have their grower. But they could have a grower at that time. And either there was a good relationship or a sour relationship, but the patient had the opportunity.
yes, exactly. And so, and that's why, and then people started seeing how much money there was in marijuana, and that's where the legalization Measure 91 came out, and it passed, and the rest is history. So Anyway, we need to get back to that, and like PK's talking about, back when the patients were being helped. And it was a beautiful thing. In fact, and this amendment states the same thing. It does not include the transfer of cannabis for consideration, which means it can't be sold. And that was always a handicap, but in spite of that, we had a heck of a program, and it was, and as far as the black market goes, Oregon has always been a leader in the black market for cannabis, because Oregon has always been a leader in producing cannabis. So the other states, the ones with the problems,
Yeah.
they need to legalize, because it's a plant, for Christ's sake. So anyway, it's just it's just a big mess, and it just keeps getting worse. But we keep trying, and as I like to say, when I want legalization, I want it to where it's legal. I want the control that we have on tomatoes.
Yep, or corn.
Or corn, which means we got to keep Monsanto out of it, but that's another issue.
Yep.
But anyway, so yeah, I'll expect to be at MercyTV next weekend. Next Friday.
So
And
the telephone number is 503-588-6444. You probably have to put a 1 in front of the 503. But
if you're
give
calling
us
from if you're calling from a landline, yes. But yeah. And then Global Marijuana March. Now put that in your calendars. May 5th, the first Saturday in May.
North End Capitol Mall, Summer and Center Street. Summer is a southbound entrance.
Yeah. And it's really easy to get to off the freeway. And if you need directions or even need a ride, get a hold of me and we'll see what we can round up. But we need more people to participate in these events and get-togethers, because strength is in numbers, and we have got to show the strength.
Please register and vote. Talk to your representative personally. You can tell a lot of different things at that time.
That's right. That's right. So I appreciate you coming in again, PK, and making the trip. It's always good to see you. And our best to Sonny and Perry.
I use this healing oil on my hair and all on my body to relieve the pain.